Today, I'm going to go over why everyone is switching to DaVinci Resolve and why I'm not going to do that. Are there any key reasons for that? Let's start with why you might want to switch to DaVinci. Reliability. Over the years, I've been using a couple video editing programs, but DaVinci, I'd dare to say that it is the most reliable and stable cross-platform video editor. How many times did you end up re-editing something because of some kind of bug or crash? Premiere users can relate. Well, with DaVinci, maybe not entirely, it's gonna become a problem of the past, especially with the live save option, which allows you to save every adjustment real time. Performance. There is not much to say here, since Resolve is just really fast and well optimized in terms of utilizing the resources of your computer. For example, look how long it takes me to open the export window in DaVinci versus in Premiere. There is quite a difference, and I have noticed that this is a recurring theme. I should mention though that this does not mean that Premiere Pro or any other video editing programs are losing entirely in this category. Both programs perform better or worse depending on the circumstances. The cost. DaVinci Resolve has a free version, but if you want to take what you do seriously, and if you feel like you're missing out on a lot of the pro features, which I'll be talking about further in the video, there's also a studio version. The best thing is that it is a one-time payment. Well, it is $295, but look, if you were to use Premiere Pro for 1 year, you'd end up spending $252. Now I think it's clear that the next year you'd end up paying another $250. The decision is up to you, but remember that the free version of Resolve fulfills the expectations of quite some people, so perhaps that is the way to go for you. The ecosystem. Let me explain. The ecosystem of Blackmagic Design, which if you don't know is the company that created DaVinci Resolve, is much wider on the hardware side of things. Look, they've got everything starting from keyboards, through Fairlight channel faders, don't ask me what that means, and even a $21,000 Fairlight Advanced console. They also have cameras and just a lot of gear. I know what you might ask. How is this supposed to be appealing to an average group of video editors? First of all, it makes the company look as though they're taking what they're doing seriously, because they are. Second of all, it makes you feel as though you have endless ways to improve. And finally, it's also reassuring in terms of how future-proof DaVinci Resolve is. Growing features. DaVinci Resolve has been improving a lot in terms of the features recently. And of course, it does not mean that Premiere Pro isn't at all. For example, look at Adobe Podcast or all the new AI features in Premiere. It's just that I feel that Resolve has patched up all the shortcomings, especially in the recent updates, and now are starting to overtake Adobe software. Here are just a couple new features in the studio version you, dear fellow creators, might be interested in. Automated subtitles, text-based editing, Relight, which basically allows you to create a virtual light source, voice isolation, Magic Mask, which automatically creates a mask around your object, Automatic Depth Mask, which separates the background from the foreground. There are obviously many more features, I just think that you might find these most attractive. Growing features though lead to overcomplication. You know it's time for the downsides. Okay, overcomplication. There's not much to say here. The amount of features become overwhelming, and that causes you to waste time. Now, a lot of stuff I'll be talking about is plainly subjective, so keep that in mind. Look at the UI of both Premiere Pro and DaVinci. I don't know if it's just me, but Premiere Pro looks easier to use, and if you started digging even deeper into Resolve's features and options, it becomes even more dense or whatever. I am aware though that it is really up to what you're familiar with, but listen to the next chapter, the learning curve. I tried to switch to DaVinci Resolve. 8 months prior to this video, I also tried switching from Filmora, which is a less known video editing program, to Premiere Pro. The switch between Premiere and Filmora was literally instant. I hopped onto Premiere, and after getting used to it for a couple hours, my editing became somewhat fluent. With DaVinci though, I got lost a lot, felt like I made no progress, and it was just tiring to look at that. Again, maybe it's just me. Panel flexibility. This is strictly a feature, but I know that for some people it might be really important, so let me go over this real quick. So as you know, in Premiere Pro you can drag over windows however you like. You can have everything positioned differently, you can adjust the size of certain objects, and you can also separate certain sections into independent windows. In DaVinci though, you are very limited with that. Less editing resources. As an editor, you might have noticed that there are more editing resources for Premiere Pro than for DaVinci. I'm talking about templates, transitions, presets, effects, tutorials, etc. That is mostly due to the fact that Premiere Pro has been rising all the way back since 2003. With people switching, I think it is a matter of time before Resolve overtakes Adobe's program in in this category. Why won't I switch? As you saw, I was able to come up with less downsides to switching, so why is that? Here's what I think. The learning curve between Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve is just too big for me. I do not have the patience to look for something for 30 minutes and then end up realizing that it was there under a different name. But all jokes aside, it might be much easier for some people to switch. I don't know. Also, I just prefer the simpler UI of Premiere Pro, although you could argue with that. Keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's all about the final product. Also, make sure to check out this video in which I presented to you a tool that can edit a roll for you automatically.